also can prophesize the future. And I also can see subliminal messaging.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Miss Pillsbury's slow girl. Now, I'm
What, really? I'm pretty sure I could truck the shit out of you fucking overgrown baby.
Dude, whatever you're smoking, buy a ton of it.
I'm the greatest spectacular on the fucking face of the earth right now.
Possibility of women playing in the league, I don't think it's impossible.
You fucking punk-ass bitch!
Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still gonna
I'm fucking real, bro. You ain't shit.
Well, this is smacking off. If you don't like it, change your diaper and leave.
Don't be ridiculous right now, okay?
I'd rather watch softcore porn than have to watch all that.
No, that's how you make coke. You never from there, you gotta cross it.
Bro, who invited this dude, bro? What the fuck? Get this dude out of here, bro.
No, USC is far better than Oklahoma historically.
Oh, your meatloaf is moist as my pussy gets. I promise you that.
Oh shit, this has turned into Kang Arthur's drug class.
They need you back at the cash register in 5 minutes.
Well, Ticky's like the pipe minus the entertainment value.
Smack off. Smacking off the podcast is starting in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my co-host and producer. What's up, Doug?
Football.
Yeah, there's a lot of football. I don't know. This week isn't as sexy as some of the other weeks, but there's going to be a few questions that I personally have about a few teams that are going to get answered this weekend. Two of those teams, of course, are in the SEC East, Florida and Kentucky, and we're going to be extrapolating that game about as much as you can extrapolate it, because it's a really big game as far as determining the path for the SEC East, and I don't know. I guess anybody's chance to upend Georgia's success.
I bet I know a guy that will actually talk about this game.
Who that is?
Let's see if we can get him on the phone.
Mr. Sean Devine, our weekly contributor.
He's our must-see games of the week guy.
He is. What is that official title?
Must-see games of the week guy. That's
I think we can do better than that.
That's officially it.
Yeah, Luke.
What's going on?
Sean Devine, what's up, my brother?
Hey, Doug and Shannon, how are you, gentlemen?
Living the dream, man. Tell me what games I want to watch this weekend. I know you know.
Oh, I know. It's my favorite time of the week. It's the Blazing 3. But first, our group of 5 just missed games. Games that are good, but not worthy of making the countdown.
Not even worthy of making a graphic for.
Bama at South Carolina. Bama's going to steamroll them. Good game, but not worthy of it. USC at BYU. Exciting, would be a great game, but I think BYU going to peter out. Florida State at Virginia. First time Virginia's ever been favored in 18 matchups against Florida State, so that tells you something. TCU at Purdue. Nice little Power 5 matchup there, but don't see much happening with either of them.
That's an interesting one. I don't know if I ever remember
Oklahoma
those
at
guys playing.
UCLA. Oklahoma's going to steamroll UCLA. I mean, so those should have been 5 great games, but I just don't see it happening.
Understood. This is not your grandpa's must-see games, correct? This is
Correct.
2019.
Yeah,
We're keeping it current.
Games, but in our current college football world we live in, not so much.
And I like the fact that we're doing this because we are a kind of an objective third party. We have no financial interest whatsoever in the outcome of any of these games. Like some of the networks do. Some of the networks actually prefer that, the team that they have their little sub-network for is doing well, or at least their conference that they're repping is doing well. There's a lot of money tied up in this thing. So we're cutting straight through the bullshit. Those games would probably be hyped back in the day, but there's nothing going on there. There's just simply nothing going on there with a lot of those programs. Unfortunately, hopefully they'll bounce back.
No, you're absolutely right. I think we try to be as objective as possible. As I stated on a previous, podcast, what I'm looking for first and foremost is games that are going to mean something towards the end of the season when we start getting into the CFP rankings, and of course, great matchups. Now, for example, when I spoke with Doug earlier this week, we did have one slight change to my original 3 from when I sent this before the season. That one change, Pittsburgh at Penn State. Looks like Pittsburgh's not going to be worth a tinker's damn this year. They're a 17.5-point underdog in this game, and for all intents and purposes, Penn State at home should roll. So they got booted from my Blazing 3. So we had an adjustment. So let's start with the third best game of the week. I think that's going to be Arizona State at Michigan State. As you all know, the Sun Devils squeaked out a win over Sparty last year in the desert. This year it's in East Lansing. And the Sun Devils come in as a 14-point dog. They're both unbeaten at 2-0. Fun fact, if Mark D'Antonio wins this game, he'll become Michigan State's all-time winningest head coach, which is kind of surprising. It's been sneaking up there in the win column. The series, Arizona State leads the series two wins, no ties, and 1 loss. Their lone loss came in 1985 in, of all places, East Lansing. And like I said, last year they won 16-13 on a last-second field goal.
I remember that one.
Yeah, Sparty needs to step up and win this one.
I think this is a bigger benchmark game for Michigan State more than anything because this is going to determine whether they're going to be players in the Big Ten East Division race.
And Arizona State is not particularly hot at the moment, so that is should be an easily, well, not easily, but it should be a winnable game for them.
But for whatever reason, Michigan State always seems to struggle in these non-conference games.
Yeah, there is that. It seems like we have talked about this on the show at length at time or two.
So I like Michigan State to win the game. I just don't know if they're going to cover 14. You never know with Herm Edwards. Herm's a crazy guy. He can really get his players motivated. So I think this might be closer than what the experts in the desert think. I like Michigan State by either 4 or 6 points at home, but who knows? I mean, the Sun Devils could shock. And right now, the Pac-12 needs a pick-me-up.
They need something.
Oh yeah, they do. They need a shot in the arm because I don't know that Utah is going to be able to carry them.
They've looked terrible.
Yeah. All right. So what else we got?
Moving on to our second best game of the week, an SEC East matchup, which I think is going to determine a lot in the East Division. The Florida Gators are visiting the Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
Florida is an 8-point favorite as they head into Lexington. But we saw Florida in week 0 struggle on a neutral site, which was really a pro-Florida crowd in Orlando against Miami. And now we know Miami has 2 losses. They haven't won a game yet. So this is going to be a big benchmark factor for Florida because some people have predicted they might win the East. Kentucky's coming in kind of flying under the radar nationally, but you and I and
well,
Doug
any
knows.
SEC fan knows too how big of a win that was by Kentucky last year because they broke, what was it, a 31 game losing streak.
31 years. Yep,
Wow.
31 games. Florida had beaten Kentucky in a row. Now the question is, can they do it again? And they're at home, which definitely helps. They play a lot better at Kroger Field.
And they don't have Josh Allen and Benny Snell.
That they are missing Josh Allen and Benny Snell, as well as their starting quarterback. He's out. They got the backup coming into play. So we're going to find out what he's made of.
But Kentucky's not looked great on defense as they normally would. Coming into this game, they played 2 relatively easy games, and they gave up a substantial, not huge amount, but a substantial enough amount of points to kind of indicate that this is not the Kentucky team we saw last year.
I would completely agree with that. The point totals they'd given up, though not really high, were higher than I expected against a couple of I think Group of 5 programs. But I still don't like Felipe Franks.
And who does? Other than Florida fans, which seem to be high on him. See, also Joe Burrow, but at least Joe Burrow's got the numbers.
Joe Burrow looked damn good in the
yeah, he did. But is it because Texas really has absolutely no defense to speak of? I guess we're going to find out soon enough. So
I had mentioned that. Remember, Texas only returned 3 starters off last year's defense this year, and they couldn't get off the field against LSU.
I'm sorry. Joe Burrow's not that great of a quarterback. He never has been. You just don't, when something like that happens, you have to immediately
Typically,
be
at some
suspect.
point, he's going to get.
He does it for a few weeks and actually faces a top 25 defense. All right, shit,
You
man.
know what
Yeah, I'll give it
happens
to
when
him.
you start getting extreme pressure? You start reverting back to what you do.
True story.
I definitely think it's a wait and see on Joe Burrow. I'm not quite, unlike some of the people on Smacking Off that are ready to give him the Heisman tomorrow.
Shannon Russell.
I want to see a little bit more out of him, though he definitely looked great. But we're going to find out when he starts playing the SEC West. So hats off to him, though. He had a hell of a game on Saturday night. But this game's going to be exciting. I just don't know. At this point, I kind of look at the head coaches, and right now I got to give the edge to Stoops at Kentucky. And I think his guys are going to be ready to play this game because a lot of people are thinking Florida last year was an aberration. It was a one-off Kentucky team with some great players. That Florida's going to come in and win this game, and I'm just not so sure about that. I'm not quite ready to pick a winner yet in this game, but 8 points.
Has
Florida,
there ever been, since Auburn, a more suspect-looking number 9 in America than Florida right now? I mean, Florida just does it. They stick out like a sore thumb in the top 10 right now. They just don't look the part. Not yet, anyways. And I might be totally wrong. I mean, the season's going to play. We're very early in the season.
I think Florida probably wins a close one. That's just, I'm picking Florida, but I'm definitely picking Kentucky to cover, which that way I'm ecstatic even if Kentucky wins.
If Felipe Franks magically transforms himself into the Felipe Franks of the last 4 games of last year, then Florida shouldn't have a problem here. But if he plays like he did against Miami, it could be a long night. It certainly could.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and for the final game?
The final game, to me, going to be the best game of the weekend. Rivalry game in the Prairie Rose State. The Iowa Hawkeyes are traveling south to Ames, Iowa, to take on the Iowa State Cyclones in a Big 10 versus Big 12 matchup. Iowa is a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 44. And shockingly, I looked this up. For being such a big rivalry game, Iowa has dominated. They are double what Iowa State has. It's 44 wins to 22 losses and no ties. And Iowa is on a 5-game winning streak in this series. Yes, currently a 5-game winning streak in the series. And this is big. This is a great matchup of coaches. Kirk Ferentz has really done a great job at Iowa for as long as he's been there. They've been pretty consistent in having successful seasons. And Matt Campbell at Iowa State is the new kind of, hot young coach on everyone's radar.
Shout out to Back Truck, Mackenzie Brooks.
But
huge Iowa State fan.
Yep.
This is a big game for Iowa State, I think, especially after kind of the poor performance they had against Northern Iowa, where they had to go into 3 overtimes to beat them. Iowa has more total talent on paper, but Iowa State has the better quarterback in Brock Purdy, or so the experts tell us. The wins for Iowa have been blowouts, but Miami of Ohio and Rutgers, so I'm not quite sold on Iowa just yet. But this is a great rivalry game. The Cy-Hawk Trophy in the Heartland should be very physical. I know that from looking at some of the different Iowa State pages and what they are psyched for this game and really want to win this game. And I think if they do win it, it could lead them to having a great year. But I think if they lose it, I expect them to go 7-5 or 8-4 and kind of pitch tent, so to speak.
We'll be watching them somewhere around Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Whereas Iowa, if they lose this game, it's not the end of the world because after Nebraska losing last week, to me the Big Ten West is going to be a showdown between Iowa and Wisconsin. And that's a few weeks from now. So Iowa can still kind of salvage their season, win the Big Ten West, and possibly
Are you still
get
feeling
to,
the Northwestern's got a shot?
Indianapolis.
Didn't you pick Northwestern?
Say that again?
Didn't you pick Northwestern to win the West?
No.
I'm trying to remember. Somebody did. Okay, so you're with
real quick, I've got to bring this game up because I was talking to Doug about it before, and this is a weird game because you brought up the Big Ten. The Maryland Temple game for some strange reason, on paper, it looks to be a pretty even matchup. Maryland is playing. I mean, I've never seen this Maryland program ever like this. I imagine it's been a long time since they've been able to rack up this many
Back
points.
in the 50s, man.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Not that far back. We'd have to go. I think Ralph Friedgen had a couple of good years there with Maryland, but that was back when they were still in the ACC.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, this is a strange game. Maryland right now is coming in ranked number 21 in the country because they've racked up 143 points in their last 2 games, or 153. I don't know, some ridiculous number. 143.
Temple scored. They've only played one game.
Temple's played one game, but
They
Temple
scored
is
50
also they scored 50 points. They racked up 500 yards in passing in that, and they're also both teams are placing in the top 25 in defense. So this is a strange game. Maryland, of course, is 4th in rushing offense right now. So that's. I don't know. I for some reason or another, I think that's going to be a highly watchable game. I have no idea what network it's on.
I agree with you, but the thing we got to watch out for Maryland after a big win like that, the classic letdown the week after.
And that's kind of why this game is so important. I'm glad you said that because this gives us a really good snapshot because we still don't know what Maryland is. Maryland's throwing up points everywhere. Yay. They were able to beat Syracuse, which was, for some strange reason or another, a possible contender in the ACC this year. And I mean, if they can't handle Maryland, but then again, is Maryland for real? I think this game's going to kind of help define that, and see if they earn a spot in the top 20.
And let's not forget, Maryland, I think, started to kind of turn a corner last year. If you recall, they took Ohio State to the wire. I think it was like 56-51, something in that matter. Just the week before, Ohio State beat down Michigan. 62-39. So Maryland, I saw that towards the end of last year that they kind of started to turn a corner. But this is definitely a huge game for them after beating Syracuse and potentially setting up.
And if they're continuing to rack up 50 and 60 points, and their defense still has been is able to keep the game very, very, very respectable. In their favor, then Maryland might actually be the real deal, and that's really that's going to shake up the Big Ten as a whole.
The Big Ten East could be quite the battle this year if Maryland's good. Obviously, the big 3: Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and then if Michigan State is good, now we're talking about 5 teams in that division being really good. It could be very exciting.
And suddenly the argument about Big Ten versus SEC kind of comes into focus now because we're hearing a lot of chatter online about from the few Big Ten folks that we run into here and there that the Big Ten is top to bottom a better conference, and what we're talking about might actually define that.
Right now.
So that's what I'm saying. This Maryland Temple game is this is usually one of those games that you would just scroll right past, but this year, with what has happened this early in the season, I don't know. There's just something really just watchable about this game. And I may turn it on for 5 minutes, and one team or the other may just completely just go on a run, and it may not be watchable at all. I don't know. I'm not a fan of either program. It's just I don't know. It's a really, really strange game. It just keeps sticking out.
Strange game with a strange helmet.
Yeah, and a lot of weird little implications here and there as far as what it could do to the overall big picture in college football. The ripple effect, if you will.
I've got a question. What is that fucking helmet? Is that their state flag or something?
What are you talking about?
The Maryland?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a state flag.
Okay, that is kind of cool then, I guess. If somebody just said, "Hey, let's get colorful with this," then I wasn't that.
Yeah, but why are they turtles? I just don't. I've never understood that.
Did you ever hear the tortoise in the hair?
I heard the tortoise in the hair, and that's not for real.
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And they were mentioning on ESPNU radio today. I can't remember who the host was, but so far we're 2 weeks in, and it's been mostly chalk for the most part. And this week 3, there's some good matchups, but not what you call mega matchups, like last weekend with LSU and Texas or Texas A&M and Clemson. But it's that quiet week 3, sleepy. Are we going to see chaos like we do when it's usually supposed to be a chalk hold, sleepy kind of weekend?
I gotcha.
So Temple beating Maryland could be that game.
It could be. I can't wait to see what games we got next week, man. This is the list you made. You are going to have to alter every now and then because you never know what games are going to pop up on the radar that was not on the right. Exactly.
I did send it to you preseason, so you have all the preseason picks, and then if there's changes, I'll certainly let you know.
I got you, man. We're gonna run over to Robert Arthur, who's going to do our guest picks, and we'll talk to you next week.
Great to be on, and great to talk to you, gentlemen, as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
You worked too hard and ate too much. The cheesecake made you greedy. Let your aching head and stomach hear this message from old Speedy. Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Ah, those Speedy Alka-Seltzer bubbles burst into action to relieve your upset stomach and aching head fast. It's only as directed. Oh, what a relief it is. What a relief.
Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. Schaefer pleasure doesn't fade even when your thirst is done. The most rewarding flavor in this man's world for people who are having fun. Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. Oh, yes, Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one.
Schaefer, the one beer to have when you're having more than one.
What are you listening to? This Remco transistor radio I made myself. Want to listen? Hey, the ball game. It's a real radio and it works great. Could I build one too? Sure. Remco makes it real easy. All you have to do is put together all the parts that come in the Remco kit. The transistor, the tuner, and a separate loudspeaker for broadcasting. Can you do your own broadcasting too? Yeah, sure. I'll do the announcing with this microphone while you work the radio. This is radio station REMCO, Remco, the do-it-yourself radio station. Oh, boy, we're radio engineers.
Fellows, get your Remco radio at your favorite toy store. From $3.95 to $9.95, every boy wants a Remco toy.
Smacking Off invites you to join us on the podcast. If you have an opinion on an upcoming game, some commentary on your conference, or want to roll with one of your fellow smackers on air, hit us up. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages, email me at maddenshannon@toothfairy.com, or call us on the Smack line, 304-508-BAIT. And as always, fuck your team.
All right, we're back with Robert Arthur.
What's up, guys?
What's going on? We don't have Shannon's not in here right now. I think he went to take a shit.
Well, then I can give a shout out to Jerry Luty by request.
You can. What's up, Jerry? I'm helping on this. So anyway, I'm not going to fool with any lines done on these games because we're not really picking that way anyway. Hold on 1 second. Let me get my graphics set up here. 1 second. Oh, yeah, I can stick that over there. You ready to go over these games? All right. Game number 1, and this is tomorrow night. North Carolina at Wake Forest, and North Carolina wins this game. They're 3-0.
Well, did you know that even though it's a conference game, that it's not a conference game? They actually scheduled a team that they weren't going to play in conference, North Carolina Wake Forest, right? And it doesn't count as a conference game, which I find weird. But anyway, I have to say Wake Forest is going to win it. They, even though UNC returns 7 starters on each side of the ball, it's got a pretty good quarterback.
Yep.
They, Wake Forest is just lights out, and I trust their quarterback a whole lot more. I say 34-30 Wake Forest.
That's going to let the air out of fucking North Carolina because you know those guys are excited right now.
Oh, it's a scary pick because Mac Brown come there and he's doing it. But then again, if you looked at who they've played, I don't know really, other than being 2-0, that's anything monumental.
Yeah. All right, we got Pittsburgh going to Penn State. Man, this used to be a pretty big game in the 80s. I definitely remember it was a big game.
I think Pitt's down in comparison to Penn State though right now.
I do too.
And they're just really slinging the ball. I mean, their quarterback at Penn State's like 30 of 45 or 559 yards and 6 TDs already in 2 games. And then he's looking pretty good. I actually watched part of one game and almost all of another, and I was like, well, they look pretty good. But Pitt, though, man, it's hard to pick against them because they're the giant slayers. They always play down to the level of their competition, but still, I got Penn State. I think they'll win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree.
Alabama at South Carolina, roll tide.
Oh, yeah, there's no way Bama's going to lose that game. I don't care what they say. I mean, even if I was a USC homer, there's no argument I could possibly make.
Are there any USC homers left other than like right directly outside the campus?
I mean, this ain't related to your picks, but I'm just going to say, I mean, Alabama's favored by 25. I don't think Alabama's going to cover.
Really?
No. I think it's going to be something like
Muschamp, the defensive genius.
41-20, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So,
I will say this about that game. USC is better off with Bentley Hurt, I think. Their freshman quarterback was pretty highly rated coming out of high school, and he looked good last week. I mean,
he wasn't awful. Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I see it. USC is better off without Bentley, but still, I mean, I'm thinking Bama like 55-3.
Okay. You think they're going to cover then?
Oh, I think they're more going to cover. I think they're going to make a statement.
Well, since we're talking about USC, let's move over to USC West real quick.
The other USC.
Yes.
Now, they would contend that they are the only USC.
They're going over to Mormon U, Brigham Young, and Brigham Young just won a big fucking game.
That was a big game for them.
I think USC is way better than Tennessee.
That is such an understatement.
And not only that, their quarterback got hurt, and it inspired their team. The guys passing it at, I think his name's like Keaton Slovis or something like that. The guy's passing like 82%, 434 yards, 4 TDs, and 1 pick. And here's the thing. Here's why BYU can't be successful this year. Their coaches didn't instill any discipline. It's one stupid penalty after another. Guys late hits out of bounds, can't be in position. They've got talent, but I don't believe the coaches got it together there yet, so I got to pick USC. I think they'll bear it. I don't think they'll cover the spread because I heard the spread was 3.5. It's one of the few games I've seen the spread on, but I don't believe that USC will cover the spread because I don't believe they're going to score many points. I'm thinking it's going to be like 24-20, so I guess that means they can cover the spread. But there's not going to be many points in that game because really USC is good by Pac-12 standards, but I don't think that they're that much better than BYU.
If they win 20, did you say 24-20?
Yeah.
I think that's a wash because I think that they're favored by 4.
So there you go.
All right, so the Corn Bowl. Sorry, I don't know if it's called the Corn Bowl, but Iowa is going to Iowa State.
We need to make that a thing. We need a petition.
The Corn Hole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like that. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Again, another shout out to Mack Truck.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
Not about cornhole, just the whole Iowa State thing. So don't be getting mad. Get out your fields.
She's gonna be happy about my pick because I'm gonna pick Iowa. Right? Iowa State is tough. They play that game tough. I don't think it's gonna be any blowout. They've got a great running game. I'd say the quarterback might be a slight advantage for ISU, but the running game of Iowa is so much better. The defensive line is so much better. Nate Stanley is more experienced, and he's been steady. He ain't threw an interception this season. But Iowa State is a turnover-making machine. It's hard to pick this game, but in honor of our great friend Mackenzie, we're going to say that 24-21 Iowa.
All right.
Okay.
How about those Clemson Tigers and those Syracuse Orange? Those Syracuse Orange's ass is still hurting right now from what Maryland did to him last week.
Yeah, that was nothing. I actually watched a good portion of the second half of that game, and it was brutal. It was really hard to watch.
And you look at the Clemson's defense, man. Everybody's going on and on about Trevor Lawrence, how he hasn't really performed this year. Hell, I think he's bored. You know, it doesn't matter what Trevor Lawrence does with the running game they got, the players they have on defense.
They're just sick everywhere that you look. They're just a completely talented team from top to bottom. They're easily the number one team in the country right now, as far as I'm concerned.
I have no doubts. I mean, that's why I'm saying 45-7 over Syracuse. And I'm trying to give them Syracuse a little bit credit and say they're going to score, but I don't really believe they're nowhere near the level of Texas A&M. So I'm giving them credit, trying to say they're going to score, and they might run a trick play or something. Somebody run a punt back, but then again,
this is important.
Good too.
Here's an important stat here, and an important thing to remember. This is in the Carrier Dome. In the Carrier Dome, which I find it very ironic because of the Carrier air conditioners. The Carrier Dome is not air conditioned.
I think we've actually talked about this on the show, either on air or off air. We've talked about this in this room before. I remember that
Clemson ain't gonna be believed there and start bitching like LSU did at Texas, because Syracuse is gonna say nobody fucking believes that we have air conditioning.
I really sincerely hope that we're going to devote a little time in our broadcast at some point in time this evening to talk about that very subject, because it is hilarious to me.
We'll have to stick it in at the end if we.
The whole fucking thing is hilarious. But anyways, we'll keep on rolling. We got a segment to do.
Oklahoma at UCLA.
55-17 Oklahoma. I don't see.
Yeah.
Even though I don't believe Oklahoma will stop UCLA from having token scores. Just OU is just rolling. It's a good mix. Matter of fact, I'm going to go out further than that. Now, as y'all know, Bailey and I, we love to fuss about Oklahoma, how great they aren't or are, right?
Yeah.
But truth of it is Oklahoma mostly is one side of the ball, but they've improved slightly on defense. But with Hurts, here's what they can do. If they want to be in the CFP and win a game, they can't score in 10 seconds and let the other team have the ball. They've got to hold the ball long enough to rest their defense.
Stretch that damn clock out. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that one.
And that's what Hurts can do for them.
Right. Man, FSU is going to Virginia. Virginia's actually favored in this game, and we were talking to Devine about it earlier. And I don't think Virginia has been favored against Florida State in.
I think we're going to see why. I really do. But, Bob, go ahead. Don't mean to steal your thunder.
No, you're not stealing my thunder, because I agree with you 100%. Here's why. I mean, against the pass, Florida State is ranked 119th. On third down, they can't get off the field. They're ranked 108th out of the whole country. On scoring defense, Florida State is ranked 120th, right? Russian defense, they're ranked 107th. And on Russian offense, they're ranked 70th. Now, if you've got a team that's noticeably better than you, there's only one way to keep them from stomping you, and that's to control the stinking football and play keep away. So Florida State can't even do that, right? Now, Virginia runs the running backs by committee, but they're pretty good running backs. My opinion is, I don't know what the line on this one, but I'd say 31-10 Virginia.
Man, I got to go ahead and mention this real quick before we go to the last two games. Listen to Bob's sound. He's got a new headset.
I have noticed he's coming in 3 days.
He sounds like he's in the room with us.
He's in the room with us. Actually, we're just kidding, y'all. Bob is actually here in the room with us at the Smacking Off Studios tonight. Bob passed that joint.
Yep.
Oh man, that's some good shit.
It's funkier than a Memphis Street musician.
How about how about the Sun Devils going up to Michigan State? A team they beat last year at home. They beat down in Tempe.
Well, I like Herm Edwards. Always loved him. I mean, I loved what he had to say. He wants to play to win the game, but I just believe that at Michigan State, I think that Michigan State's going to run it down their throat and make them like it. Now, this guy, Jaden Daniels at ASU, really intrigues me, and he's one of them rare players that ASU can only occasionally get that is good enough to turn a game just on star power. But if MSU stays steady and shows good coaching, I think they win 23-10.
All right, and I think that's it for the games tonight.
I thought we were going to pick UK and Florida.
No, we're done. We've talked about that earlier. Hey, Bob Arthur, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, do your thing, man.
We got Florida.
Bob Arthur's Wildcats.
Florida at Kentucky.
Florida is headed to the Wildcats.
And Kentucky is on a one-game winning streak in the series.
They are.
Well, here's the only thing I really want to talk about that, because I know Mike's going to go on. He's going to pick this game, and obviously I'm going to pick Kentucky. Now, that seemed like a fallacy or a fantasy pick, right, based on what the SEC writers did. what the SEC writers didn't notice is that UK, when it come time to sign the next class, had so many players, good players on the roster that they could only sign 20 players.
Yeah.
So if you look at the ranking of UK's recruiting this year, it looks lower ranked than most of the SEC teams. But if you go to the quality of it, we're right below the 3 or 4 top teams in the SEC. We brought back guys that were hurt, guys that were on cancer, had cancer and came back. Pashaw, DeAndre Square. We've got a 369-pound defensive tackle. Now, we ain't really played anybody of any note other than the MAC conference champion this year. And but every team had to double team our defensive tackles. Almost 370 pounds is all they could do. Our linebackers are running free. And here's another thing that nobody's talking about. Florida, the best player on Florida's team, right? Their corner, I got a cat, by the way, attacking my feet, but anyway, in my cord. But anyway, C.J. Henderson.
That's not very professional, Bob. You're not supposed to say things like that on the air, like, "Oh man, sorry guys, I got to take a shit" or something like that.
No, I
you got to keep it
saying.
professional. You got to roll straight through it, even if you're getting your dick sucked while you're on air with us. You can never, ever break that fourth wall.
It's ominous that a cat is trying to get in here. But anyway,
what do you have on your feet? What do you get into? Do you have meat on your feet? Peanut butter? I think that cat.
Bob, are you still there?
I think that cat got that headset. Maybe.
I really don't hear Bob anymore.
You know, I think this is how like Walking Dead started. Like, yeah, this cat's trying to nibble at my feet. Next thing you know, complete silence. He's dead.
Bob.
That cat killed him.
Wait, no. If you say it loud enough, Bob.
That cat killed him. That's our first on-air death of any kind. I mean, not just a human, but like, an animal. I have a feeling he can still hear us, but we can't hear him.
Bob, we can't hear you.
Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and pick it. He was going to go ahead and pick Florida winning that game anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and keep rolling right along here on Smacking Off the Podcast. Coming up next, we got some newbies, don't we?
We do. When we come back, we're going to have Nikki Mays.
Yeah.
With Mike Richardson, and they're going to be talking about the game that Bob.
Now, Mike's been on the show before. Yeah, but Nikki Mays is not. So we're popping cherries here on Smacking Off the Podcast.
All right, we'll be back soon.
All right.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
Pepsi-Cola, it's the pot, 12 ounces, that's a lot, twice as much more nickels do. Pepsi-Cola is the drink for you. Nickel, 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 nickel.
Hello, I'm Bud Wilkinson, football coach at the University of Oklahoma. I'd like to talk to Bob and Sally here and to youngsters and parents everywhere about a very serious problem. Studies show that 4 out of 5 school children today do not get a nutritionally proper breakfast, and many eat none at all. Now, as a coach, I know how impossible it is for anyone to do his best, mentally or physically, without a good breakfast to start the day, especially you growing youngsters.
But what do you call the breakfast, Coach?
Well, Bobby, here's what experts call ideal. Fruit, a cereal like oatmeal, milk, bread, and butter. That way you get up to 1/3 of your day's protein, plus important vitamins and minerals. It's a perfect breakfast for everyone.
But I thought oatmeal was for little kids.
Little kids, Sally? Well, oatmeal is the favorite cereal of our football players, and those little kids average 190 pounds and 6 feet tall.
Gee, Coach, that's good enough for me. Me too.
And welcome back to Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my co-host and producer. And we're also joined in studio with my 1-year-old daughter, Rory. Rory, you want to say hi? Hey, she's being shy now. She was a little motor mouth a minute ago. We're joined with representatives of both Florida and Kentucky tonight. What is going on over there? It sounds like a military operation. Breaker one. What the fuck is that?
Hello.
Let's try this again.
Is everybody there?
I'm going to put my shirt back on.
You there?
Yeah, which
I'm going in and out.
Yeah, what are you driving?
No, I'm home.
Okay, this is Nikki Mays, ladies and gentlemen. Nikki Mays is brand new to the show. She is a Florida fan.
Where do you live, Texas?
Yep.
Okay, you need to climb up on top of your house. And
just climb on top of your house and aim your phone toward the sky.
Oh,
yeah. Mike Richardson has also joined with us. Mike has been on the show before. He is a Kentucky Wildcat. What up, Mike?
How we doing, guys?
Oh, pretty good. So y'all are just going to start dog cussing each other, right? I'm going to sit back and enjoy this.
I've been arguing for this whole week now with all these damn Florida fans. Just think they're tough shit because they're a little whack-ass preseason ranking they got. Think they're just going to come in and dog walk us. Still trying to figure out where it's coming from.
Me too. I mean, top defense in the country, number 4 quarterback in the SEC. Kentucky lost their quarterback, down a few players. I don't know. We might have something to talk about.
This is going to be a salty conversation. I enjoy this. Let me take my pants off real quick. All right, pants are off. This is going to be nice. I'm enjoying this already. This is going to be good talk. Mike, Nikki said something to you. Do you have something to say to her?
Well, that nice little defense they got that's, one of the top in the nation hasn't went up against the offensive line like ours yet either.
Yeah.
What offensive line? The one that gave up how many points?
I mean, and the offensive line don't give up points.
Not giving your quarterback long enough to throw.
I had plenty of time to throw, had plenty of time to run. We got the top 3 or 4 offensive line in the country. Not the country, my apologies, SEC. Behind Alabama and Georgia, of course, and LSU. We return so many starters on our offensive line, it's unreal. We got
the same starters that lost to Tennessee.
Same starters to beat y'all, though.
Hey, it was about time.
Well, I mean, and it ain't gonna stop no time soon, either. Our front 7 is gonna be the nastiest front 7 y'all played so far. Having Quentin Bohanna in the middle, having Cash Daniel and DeAndre Square, Josh Paschal coming back. We got Xavier Peters is cleared to play. He's probably gonna play against y'all too.
Then why aren't y'all scoring more?
they're getting ready to start probably airing the ball out a heck of a lot more than what people are used to seeing us air the ball out now with the difference in our quarterbacks.
How many quarters did he play?
4.
I mean,
3.
That's how. I mean, he played about 2 for us so far. But the whole thing about that is he is not Terry Wilson. He does not run the ball. I mean, he's serviceable if he needs to scramble, but he ain't Terry Wilson. We're not going to be doing that. His very first pass was a 52-yard touchdown to Ahmad Wagner on a post route down the sideline. I mean, he comes out and he throws the ball. Dude's a lot more accurate.
So are you saying is he an upgrade from Terry Wilson?
Say now.
Are you saying that he's an upgrade from Terry Wilson?
Passing.
No.
Passing, yes. I'm not saying that he's going to be Terry
But
Wilson.
will he have time to pass with Florida State?
Absolutely. I have no doubt in my mind we'll have
No
time
doubt
to
in your mind. We already got 16 sacks on the season.
That's outside the point. Y'all haven't went up against the offensive line like ours yet either. Who'd y'all play last week? Wasn't it like Charleston or some shit last week?
UT Martin. But y'all
UT
didn't even
Martin.
put. What did you put up against? Who y'all played?
Yeah, who did y'all play? I'm trying to remember.
This past weekend we played Eastern Michigan.
Okay, and
Then
how
before that,
much
we
did
played
you put up
Toledo.
against them?
What did we put up against them?
What, 24?
I believe so, yeah. I think it was 24. That being said, though, Eastern Michigan's also one of the teams that since we've been playing them,
That's almost a quarter of 100 points.
They've played us generally fairly tough. I mean, every time we played them, their quarterback, not the season before last was Brogan Roback. He ended up going and playing, he was on Cleveland's roster there for a while. He got drafted and was a Funk Brown, which don't really make any difference. I mean, don't get me wrong, but they're not a chump either.
Not chumps. They Division One.
Yeah, but that being said, too, though, we still got one of the best named running backs that's probably going to be running all over y'all here.
Nah, he went to the NFL. He's gone now. Snell's gone. He's been gone.
No, I said one of the best named.
Oh,
talking about Mr. Cavassier Smoke.
That is a fucking kick-ass name. Now, names don't necessarily produce numbers, obviously, but that is the Cavassier Smoke.
I'll give him that. You guys do have best name.
Cavassier
of a player
Smoke
in college football.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
With a name like Cavassier Smoke, that's a dude that would roll up to my house, me not knowing who he is. He tell me his name, and pretty much whatever he wanted to go do that evening, I'd roll with him. Come on, man! I'm gonna go do my thing. You want to go do my thing? Yeah, I don't know whatever your thing is, but with a name like that, it's got to be a cool thing. Got to be a cool thing.
It's a good name.
I'm going to tell you, between him and Mr. Chris Rodriguez, who, speaking of Mr. Benny Snell, Chris Rodriguez is probably the closest thing we have to him as far as running style goes. I did look for A.J. Rose to kind of make strides this year and kind of separate himself from the rest of the running backs. But he hasn't really to me. And to be honest with you, I personally think Cavassier Smoke is probably the best running back we have on the team. When he gets in the game, he's averaging over 6 yards per carry.
My question is, can they honestly hold up against a defense? And I'm not talking about the 2 games we played before. We're talking about players that are also returning, that shot down Michigan, that shut down some pretty tough. I mean, we have no issue putting a quarterback on their back the last 3 seasons, even though we sucked. But we've had no issue when it comes to it. I don't see, like, this is fresh meat for Florida. Like, they're looking at it the same way they looked at Miami, the same way they looked at UT Martin. It's fresh meat. These boys, and you guys aren't even hearing yet of Wilson. He hasn't even been in because we've given more of CJ and Elam, all of, older guys that come back from injury.
Doug, can you do me a favor? Can you go back when we re-air this show, and can you just do like a solid minute loop of her saying fresh meat?
You like that?
Yeah. That's pretty good. I don't know. There's just Nikki, say fresh meat one more time.
Fresh meat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fucking good. All right.
Let me
But
tell
think
you
about
one
it.
thing
You
that
have
a lot
a
of
new quarterback coming into the SEC.
okay.
Okay.
But let me tell you this. Here's one thing that everybody keeps looking over.
Okay.
Is the fact that Kentucky, really honestly, we've got Felipe Frank's number. I mean, we really do. Yes.
You mean his telephone number?
We've only beat Florida once since he's been the quarterback.
Can you go ahead and give us Felipe Frank's phone number on air? Because
well,
our
I don't think Kentucky's like LSU.
Our listeners want to know.
Kentucky's like who?
Let me tell you. Not last year, but year before last,
LSU.
Wasn't it? Yes. Felipe Franks. We would have beat y'all then if he hadn't got pulled out of the game. We were whipping y'all.
That saved y'all.
Yeah.
And y'all put in who was it? I think it was Luke Del Rio is who came in the game and ended up beating us. He brought y'all back. We were killing Felipe Franks.
Baby, come back.
And then not last year. No, I guess it was 3 years ago. So
are you talking about the game
before we beat y'all? We would have beat y'all then too, if it hadn't been for our own dumbass fault, leaving two receivers open in the fucking red zone, which I still don't understand on two different times. We had y'all beat then. Then last year we just beat Felipe Franks, and he is still your guys' quarterback. He's still
You're
the
damn
same
right
dude
he
he's
is.
been playing. He ain't
You see
got
the quarterback rating in the SEC alone?
Nikki, I got to ask you a question because it's rare that we get Florida fans on. I don't feel like we get enough Florida fans.
We had one on before her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That sucks. I especially as large and widespread of a fan base as Florida is.
Mm-hmm.
But why are the Florida fans so high on Felipe Franks?
You know,
I mean, is he an attractive fellow? I mean, is he good to children? I mean, y'all are really sucking this guy's dick.
Oh, well, right now I wouldn't put in EJ or Thrash over him. The kid is being developed.
Well, I mean, just because you don't have another quarterback to put in there, I mean, this transcends that. Most of the Florida fans that I've talked to online, they're so hard for this motherfucker. I just don't get it. I mean,
well, 90% of Florida fans honestly are so against him. Like, if you're on like the Florida boards, that's all you see is them talking bad about him.
So you're saying that there is another side of this that I, as an outside observer, so internally, this is a big story.
When you have normal, everyday fans, and then you have your fans that are, well, I guess, the ones that sit in your snack groups, they're going to support him just on the fact because you're not going to turn against fuel to.
Nikki, it sounds like you're calling me from a payphone on the side of the road in Idaho. It's like you're way out in Idaho somewhere, and you just were able to escape some evil trucker that was going to kill you. Please help me! Please help me! Oh my God! Operator, send the police!
We hate to have to ask you to do this, but can you climb back up on top of your house?
Hey, hold on! I know what I can do. Hold on. I know a spot. Sorry, small town Texas.
What kind of car do you have?
Mercedes.
You got a Mercedes?
Yeah.
You got a fucking Mercedes? Holy shit! Hashtag lifestyles of the rich and famous. Landon Beeman would approve of that choice of automobile.
Oh, boozy gaby.
So, man, let's go ahead.
Right.
While your sound is working, let's go ahead and get your prediction on this game.
I was going to tell you to stand on top of your car, but I mean that's fucking ridiculous to get you to stand on top of a Mercedes. That's not cool.
So, Nikki, how's this game going to go?
Hold on 2 seconds. I'm going to fix this.
She's going to put some aluminum foil on the back of it. Oh, whoa. What's going on here?
She's activating the antenna.
Is that better?
No, that's not better. That's like way worse.
You're using a power tool now.
Do you have it in your front pocket?
Mike, that's not you fucking with her, is it?
No, it ain't me, dude.
Was that me? That may have been me. Hell, I may have been getting a phone call. Oh, who knows?
Okay, go
Nobody.
ahead, Nikki. Tell us
I'm
how
just
this game's
kidding.
gonna
Nobody
go.
ever. Nobody ever calls.
We
Oh,
can
that's
hear you.
way better. Yeah, yeah. Sounds like you're in the same room with us. Like you got in your Mercedes and came right over to Birmingham, Alabama.
All right, so how's this game going to go?
I'm right behind you.
You're right behind. Oh my!
Florida
Holy
wins the
shit!
21.
Nikki is here. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Nikki Mays is in studio tonight. Bob Arthur, scoot over.
Oh, I own a jet too, so I just flew real quick.
Take your shoes off. Get comfortable. I got some.
No, yeah, we got it by 21.
I got some colas in the.
You got about 21. So
By
what do you think? Like 31 to 10, something in that range?
You got a score?
I mean, it could be 30 to 19.
I haven't really thought about a score.
Sorry, 40 to 19.
I mean, you can't just throw a number out there. You gotta brag about it.
She said by 21.
Well, but she's got to give an actual score prediction. I mean, you know.
I'll go ahead now.
Well, okay, I'm gonna say Kentucky. I'll let Kentucky have.
I'll let them have. I like that. The balls
Maybe
on this
14.
lady.
14. Okay.
This lady's got the biggest
Maybe.
fucking balls.
So what would that be? 35 to 14?
Hmm.
Something in that neighborhood.
Something. Yeah, that's a realistic score.
All right, Mike.
Mike says no. Nay, nay. Nay, nay says Mike.
Nah, it's gonna be 24-14 in favor of Kentucky. And the only thing that's gonna be
Close
said at the
game.
end of the game is Dan Mullen's gonna be the coach that's done lost to Kentucky 2 years in a row, and that's gonna be Felipe Frank's legacy. He's gonna be the guy that lost to Kentucky 2 years in a row. Then they're gonna be ready
What's
to fire
Kentucky
him
fans
up.
gonna do when they lose again?
Same thing we always do. It's kind of
Just wait for basketball
We'll
season.
just reload and go next year.
They'll just wait for basketball season. It'll pick up. Trust me.
Yeah, but I mean, like I deal with Kentucky fans. I mean, there's only a few, but we have some crazy ones on some of the pages, and I mean, one called
crystal
it
meth.
distinction,
They
completely
have
cried.
a lot of crystal meth in Kentucky.
I mean, cried like a baby after losing to Florida.
Now, but however, Florida is famous for that flacca. So.
Yeah, it is kind of bad down there.
Yeah, what's Texas? Texas
Like-
is y'all just smoke the pot down there, right? I know they do in
Yeah,
Austin.
not where we're at. We're in the city of champions. We don't have many drugs.
In Austin, it is all about the pot and craft IPAs.
Yeah.
Craft IPAs probably.
Sorry, is that what they call
My
Austin, the
town's
city of
about
champions?
creating quarterbacks and NFL players.
Well, I mean,
We're the home of Jared Stidham and Kevin Cobb and
Jarrett
Cody
Stidham.
Davis.
Jarrett Stidham could suck my balls.
Hey, Mike, did you pick on this game, or I don't remember?
Yeah, 24-14 Kentucky.
24-14 Kentucky. We got it. We got this thing locked in the bag.
Somebody.
Hey Nikki, so whenever we win, you guys sport a profile picture of Cavassier Smoke for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Down with that?
Yeah. Now,
When we win,
it has to be
I'm
a
gonna go ahead
picture
and
of the actual
Photoshop
player,
you one
though.
of you kissing Felipe Frank's ass.
Hey, I'm down with that. I'm game.
Hey, Nikki, I actually got the Zuck about 2 weeks ago for a picture of a guy eating another guy's ass, and I think we could probably arrange it to where Mike could be eating that ass.
Yeah, and make Felipe's picture.
Yeah. Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Get
guys,
this.
this has been fun, and we had Nikki on this.
Nikki, this has been absolutely wonderful. Will you come on and play with us again, please?
Anytime.
Excellent, Mike. As
I'm
always.
always free Thursday nights from this weekend on.
Well, good. That means
Football's over.
you will be listening to us every week in rapture.
You guys have a good night.
Notice how she didn't answer.
You guys too, man.
Y'all take it easy.
Thanks, man.
Well, shit.
Was there something you wanted to talk about before we kick off?
I kind of did just for a quick second. This week we had a curious thing happen. The big Texas LSU game, which was a mighty big showdown. LSU won. LSU was having their little post game. Somebody had brought up the facts at post game interview. somebody brought up the fact that there was a lot of players that were cramping really bad, and the heat was very bad there. And Coach O just kind of casually mentioned in the middle of the press conference, and he didn't really elaborate on it at first. Just kind of casually mentioned that, oh yeah, there's no air conditioning in the visitors' locker room. Now, of course, that lit the message boards up, the Facebook Smack groups, Texas and LSU fans, and, fans from the Big 12 and SEC have all kind of extrapolated upon this and debated back and forth and this, that, and the other. Well, the official comment from Texas was that they were never notified that the air conditioning didn't work. And, in fact, they have groundskeepers and facilities people there that are rather insistent that the AC was indeed working. And so now there is this little, and it's just such a weird little, I don't know, just nugget in the middle of all this college football going around, that you would have a team that won. So this isn't sour grapes from Ed O.
No,
and that's kind of the weird spin to this, is that, all he was doing, and at first, when you go back and read the transcript for the interview, because you can't understand what the motherfucker's saying,
right.
He's just basically like, yeah, the AC wasn't working in the visitors' room, but, that wasn't really a factor, blah, blah, this and this, that, and the other. Apparently, he was notified, or he called Louisiana Tech, who had played them the week before, and actually had a conversation with somebody about the fact that the air conditioning wasn't working there, and that actually brought some fans and prepared for it. But Texas is saying that there's nothing wrong with the air conditioning there. So who's lying here?
I don't know.
I mean, this is kind of a weird thing to lie about, really, on both of them. I mean, Texas could have just came out and said, yeah, they weren't working. Sorry about that. They brought some fans, and they were okay, so we, nobody complained to us, so we just, let them do their thing.
Right.
So, no, that wasn't it. They insisted that the AC's working. Coach O said,
Do we need to put a man
it
on
wasn't
this?
working. Huh?
Do we need to put a man on this?
I think we do.
Put our man in the field over in Austin?
Well, Tom Murphy's not far from there. We can put him
How about
on.
Austin Horn?
Tom Murphy's not doing a goddamn thing, though.
No, you're right.
Yeah, he's an old guy. He doesn't do much of anything.
The only problem is he don't like Texas. So he's going to go over and he's going to like.
So so automatically that's going to give him a little bit of ammunition to go in and he's going to dig for the truth. I mean, go in there
or
and
just go in and
sneak
say,
in,
don't look like
sneak in and turn it on and listen for it to click on and off. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of things you got to look for here. Anyways, I just had to bring that up just because it's such a weird little story, and I hope we get to the bottom of this. I really do.
All right, y'all stay tuned for the Live 10 poll, and then, of course, we're leaving. But here it is. We're kicking it in right now.
Here's our Life Championship Top 10 for Week 2. Brought to you by Bad Month Tires, Cousins, who the fuck can afford Goodyear, and by Dr. Thunder, not nearly as good as Dr. Pepper, but a hell of a lot cheaper.
井号10 The Texas A&M Aggies 井号9 The Stanford Cardinal 井号8 The Auburn Tigers 井号7 The Nebraska Cornhuskers 井号6 The Syracuse Orange 井号5 The Texas Longhorns 井号4 The Miami Hurricanes 井号3 The Florida State Seminoles 井号2 The Washington Huskies and numero uno for week R reclaiming the top spot once again the defending life champions of 2018 the Michigan Wolverines.
Find Smacking Off the podcast on Facebook and on YouTube.
Tune in to Smacking Off the podcast every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Fuck each and every motherfucker who doesn't.